What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I haven't really planned anything for this one, but what I wanted to show you guys is some drum processing with the Boss .desample SP202. That's to give it its full title. This is a great sampler, and I've actually done videos about this before that I think it's better used as an effects unit rather than making full beats. Now I know some of you disagreed with that opinion, and I do appreciate that you can make full beats on this device. It's just a lot harder to do than the other SPs in the range. After the 202 we've got the 303, which has got the pattern sequencer for the first time, and then after that we've got pattern sequencer and the resampling, which just makes making beats a lot easier than on this device. So that's why I think the strongest point of this device is just as a sampler and effects unit, and yeah, secondary is beat making, even though it can be done. So I'm going to feed some drums into this. I'm going to play around with the sampling rates, I'm going to play around with the effects, and I'm going to show you guys just how powerful this thing can be. This can absolutely destroy sounds, and that's in a good way. And you can get some really creative textures just from using the different sample rates and effects, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and use some drums from my latest drum kit, Hip Hop Drums Volume 1. So because of the age of this device and the fact that I've got no memory card, there's no way of me directly importing sounds onto this device. I'm pretty sure you can probably buy the card reader for laptops. I'm pretty sure this is a CF card that it takes, but I don't actually have one. So I'm just going to record into the device directly, and that's how we can use the different sample rates. So let's go ahead and let's start off with the kick, and I'm going to make sure that the source is on and use hold to keep that on. So this is kick 10. I'm going to go ahead and press record, and I'll just do lo-fi 1 for this. So you heard the original sound there. It's nice and sort of wet sound to it, but it's very pronounced. It's got a lot of definition on it, so it's a nice sounding kick. And what I'm going to do is record that with lo-fi 1. I'm going to make sure that's mono, it already is, and let's go ahead and get that recorded in. So I've sampled there just before the start of the actual sound. There's definitely a way you can set auto trig on this. I can't remember exactly how to do it. It's one of the key combinations. So I'm just going to go ahead and try and use mark to set the start and end point. And there we go, that's it sampled in. I've got the start point as close as I possibly could. That's with lo-fi 1. And this is the original. And now this sample. So we've got a lot more crunch on it. We've got a little bit of hiss on it as well. And then obviously we can go ahead and use the pitch if we wanted to. So we could bring that right down, and that really brings out that kind of ring that the SP202 adds. And if we wanted to pitch that up to make it a bit cleaner, so there's plenty to do with the pitch, and then filter. You can really destroy the sound by putting this low pass filter on it. Filter 2 I don't tend to use that much. I think this is probably a high pass filter. Adds kind of a sort of sci-fi sort of ring to it. And ring mod is just out of the question for this kick, really. It doesn't really add anything. So you can't save the sound configurations that you've set up on this device. So once you have that the way you sounded it, I would then go and record that out when I'm happy with it. So that's how a kick can be manipulated. So next I'm going to try a snare. This is probably where you can do the most interesting stuff I find with the snares. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do lo-fi 2 for this one, just to show you guys how lo-fi this machine can actually go in the actual sense of the word. So we're on lo-fi 2 now. I'm going to use snare 9 from my pack. So originally speaking, this has got quite a nice soft tone to it. Quite a nice little bit of a snap at the start, but then it just kind of trails out to be a very soft sounding snare. So I'm going to record that in on lo-fi 2 and mono again. And let's see what that's come out like. As you can hear there, that sound has been completely destroyed. So here's the original. And here's the sampled in version. And again, I haven't used auto trig, so I'll just spend some time getting the start right with mark. And there we go, that start point is pretty much spot on now. So if we wanted to pitch it, and then we can also pitch it higher as well. So it's a little bit quiet, this one, but we could always boost that later in, say, a digital audio workstation like Ableton or Logic or whatever station that you've got. You could go in and boost the signal on this to get it up to the right volume for your beat. Now, due to how much of the high end that's taken off by sampling on Lo-Fi 2, putting a low end filter on it probably is going to ruin the snare. You don't really want it to sound muddy like this. You want more of a snappy noise. So as you can hear, filter 1 there isn't really useful unless you're going for that specific sound, which is unlikely because you tend to want your snare to cut through the mix a little bit. And there you go, that's the sort of destruction you can do on a snare. So let's finish off by doing a quick hi-hat sample. And these drum sounds have all been cut from drum loops, by the way, from record. So they are proper acoustic drums. I'm going to use hi-hat 9 from a pack for this one. This has got a very nice definition to it. So let's go ahead and record in with standard for this one. So set the mode to standard, and we could actually take these off as well. We can set this to one shot and set that to gate as well. And obviously I'm going to keep it on mono, and then we'll get this recorded in. This is the original sound. And let's get that recorded in. So you may hear that it does kick up a little bit of a fuss when you're recording. There's like a very high pitched noise on it, but when you finish recording, that's not actually on the recording. I find the high pitched noise the worst if you're using hi-fi mode. To be honest, I don't really use that too much with this device because otherwise what's the point? We kind of want those lo-fi and sort of distorted and destroyed textures. So hi-fi, I'd rarely use that, and that's the one that you get the most sort of feedback on as well. So I've gone for standard on this one, and let me just do the start point again. That's close enough for this example. We can pitch that. So I might go for something like that. Can do a filter as well. Filter 2 adds an interesting texture on a hi-hat. And ring mod. Ring mod doesn't really do too much. And we can have a quick go with delay as well, but this doesn't really seem to have a very good effect on drum sounds. So that's it without, and this is it with. Maybe that's quite useful for doing doubles actually. And this is the delay on the hi-hat as well. And on the snare. So that's not as useful as you get on the later versions, to be honest. It kind of just adds a double sort of sound to the drums that you're using. So all in all, that's kind of the sound you can get out of the 202 when you're processing drums. You could also put in full drum loops as well and then export those to whatever device you're using as well, whether it's a DAW or a different SP device. But yeah, I think it's really clear to see that you can really destroy the drum sounds and get some very, very interesting textures. It's a shame that snare is a bit too quiet to be able to tap out some drums for you guys to listen to, but singularly they all sound like this. And obviously there are some artifacts on the end of those samples as well, but you could easily clip them off with a different device or a digital audio workstation as well. So nothing to worry about with that. And yeah, in the new year, I will definitely do a drum pack where I do this treatment to a lot of different drums. Saves you the task of doing it, and also if you don't even own a 202, then you wouldn't need to buy one. You can just pick up that pack instead and you'll have that 202 grit on your drums without having to fork out the money for it. So I hope you found that interesting, guys. I just wanted to show you how you can manipulate the sounds on the 202 to get some really interesting textures. If there's anything else in particular you'd like to see about the 202, please give me a shout out in the comments. I've done quite a few videos, and because this is quite a limited unit, there isn't an awful lot to talk about, but it's very fun to include it in a workflow with a more powerful device. I'll be back with more content about samplers and other SPs very, very soon, guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this one as well. Keep making beats, guys. I'll be back very, very soon. Peace!